Alright guys, welcome back finally to another cash game review session. I know it's been a while guys, I took a week off the stream so I didn't really have time to edit any footage, so we're like 2 weeks behind, so I know I've not released anything in like 2 weeks. So my apologies. This is the last video we're actually going to use the Bluff the Spot ranges. I've now partnered with Raise Your Edge, so we're going to be using ranges from one of their courses. But for this video we'll still be using the pre-flop Bible from Bluff the Spot. So in this video we've got our friend Jake playing 25 Zoom on Ignition, 25 Zone, whatever it's called, on Ignition. And it's quite fun. The pools seem pretty soft guys, so even though I don't have an affiliate link, I'd probably recommend signing up to Ignition. In case you don't know guys, we stream these every single Monday live on Twitch at 6 o'clock-ish UK time. You can get your own cash game reviewed if you want by me. Just shoot me a message, ideally jump in the Discord. But yeah, hopefully no more breaks guys. We'll be uploading videos twice a week from now on, every Thursday and Sunday, so make sure you're subscribed. And as always guys, enjoy the video and I'll see you in the next one. Okay, so just looking at this, I can tell how fucking soft it is. There's so many things wrong here. It's fantastic. Under the gun limps, fantastic. This guy playing a $10 stack. This guy playing a $5 stack. This sizing versus a limp, like, actually, that's not even that bad. But yeah, this is gonna be absolute lols. So this is an interesting one with sevens already. I think calling's probably fine. There's a couple of reasons why I don't like anything. 3-betting's kind of weird because of his stack. We'd have to 3-bet call. He has like, what, 40 big blinds? So once we 3-bet, with the amount we'd have to put into 3-bet, which is say, let's say $4, we'd have to then call off. Like, I could get behind it. I could get behind it making this like 350 and then just calling off. I don't even love calling because this guy could limp raise, which isn't ideal either. So it's kind of a dumb spot. I do think calling's probably all right. This isn't going to be a super high EV call. Folding seems too tight. So you could probably do anything here and I wouldn't be too upset. If you 3-bet and called a shove, I'd be fine with it. If you folded, I could understand why. And calling, I can understand why. So I'm not really too pissed off about what you do here. The problem is that you're going to have a lot of these kind of spots, right? So you're going to have a lot of these spots where we're not really loving it and we're going multi-way and we don't really know what to do here. Never do this though. Never click this auto call button. Just when it gets to you, just take another second or so, even if you know you're always calling. It should change as well, by the way. For example, if he bets and he calls, and then he calls, you should be playing slightly different versus 1-bet or 2-bets and against 3-bets. I could honestly get behind raising this flop here. The problem is, the only good card is a 7. A 2, 3, 4, 5 are okay. This guy probably doesn't have a hand because I'd imagine he's going to raise. I think I'm just raising here. But again, this is why like these kind of hands in these spots going multi-way, when you don't hit a set, they're going to be very difficult to play. And sometimes even when you do, they can be difficult, depending on the board texture. No problem! Ding, ding, fucking ding. There you go, Jake. What do I know, guys? I'm just a fucking idiot. No, don't click that call button. Like, so I'm probably just raising here. The reason being is I just want to get more money in. We're not too bothered about these guys here. Like, they have less than a pot size bet behind or about a pot size bet behind. But this guy's got $25 into an $8 pot here. I'm going to want to just try and put more money in to try and stack him. Like, if he has, like, let's say 9, 10, and then the river comes, like, the 5 of clubs, he may not get all the money in now. I mean, he probably fucking would, but I think we can just raise and just raise small here. None of these guys are good. Like, none of these guys are playing any sort of theory base, so I think on Ignition, I think I'm going to have to talk more about just pure exploiting rather than theory. Because on this site, this is just absolute nonsense from everybody in this hand. The only one that's played this hand even half decent is you, and I think that you could possibly have played this better. So I think I'm just raising here because, okay. We want to go a little bigger, but I'm actually okay with this. I think we still want to go bigger, maybe like $2.50, $3, something like that. Again, this is not, none of this is theory. This is all absolute nonsense theory-wise, so just don't do this from a practical point of view. Like, if you get into... But if you get into this spot with all these absolute goons, then this is kind of what you need to do. So this is just fucking absolute, just button clicks from everybody. What on earth is happening here? I also really fucking hate the software. Okay. This is a very interesting spot now, actually, where I think your highest EV is honestly to call. Again, right, this is such a very strange spot that just happens so infrequently. When you jam here, you're gonna look so fucking... But do you know what? These guys are idiots. We could probably just jam and still get called by a 9. Probably jamming's better. So I would call in this spot. Yeah, I think I'm just calling because these guys can still reopen the action. And the idea is we want to call and we want them to call that amount. Because once we shove, it's probably gonna go fold a lot. Because they're not really representing strength. So I think that we can honestly just call here. But honestly, against these goons, shoving's probably alright. Do you get to see what he had out of interest? Do you know what he had? Do you bring it up or? All right, so Jack's here. We're in a kind of normal spot here. So this guy opens. We 3-bet to. This is a little bit small. He's raised 2.5x. We're making it against the 2.5x. When we're out of position, I would generally just go 10 big blinds here. So $2.50. So an easy way of thinking about it is in position we want to go somewhere around 3x. Out of position we want to go somewhere around 4x. Somewhere in those vicinities. So if we look at the pre-flop Bible, what that recommends here, it looks pretty confusing. But so this is versus a min open that we're going to be making it 7 in position, 9 out of position. Versus a 2.5, we're going to be making it 8 big blinds in position, 10 out of position. And then versus a 3x, we're going to be making it 9 in position and 12 out of position. So this is basic. You know, this is basically 3x and 4x, like I said. You can deviate from this very slightly depending on how deep you're playing, your opponents. But I do think that this is slightly small. I think this is a little bit too small. And then we get 4-bet, and honestly, we're just in a fucking grim spot. Because I just don't know if anyone's going to 4-bet bluff. Stop doing things so fast. Like, stop doing things so quick. Like, snap flatting and stuff. Just think about your decision. That is something that, first of all, not just because it's a tell. Not enough people at these stakes are going to pick up on that, but some people will. But also, you want to be thinking exactly what you're doing. You don't want to be like, okay, I'll call. I think calling's okay here. I don't really want to be doing much calling out of the small blind. Is there room for folding? Like, just against your average opponent here. Is there room for folding? It's quite a large 4-bet. He doesn't need to go 3x in position here, 4-bet at all. You can make it a hell of a lot smaller in position. Honestly, I wouldn't even hate folding, and I know that sounds so fucking nitty. As played, probably check calling. The thing is, it does feel as though it's going to be ace-king weighted because it's quite big, and weaker players tend to make it bigger with ace-king, whereas you can just make it a lot smaller with aces. This sizing is not even great. The problem is when we call here, look at the stack to pot ratio, and look at how many bad cards there are. Now we just have to check fold. So any club is bad, an ace, a king is bad. You know, even something like the 10 of diamonds isn't a great card because there's just so many draws out there. And we're just going to be put in a tough spot. I guess no, jam this river. He's got kings, he's going to check back is my guess. Let's see what happens. Probably just shoving with how big the pot is. I'm probably shoving here for value. What a weird way of playing it. Okay. So a few things I don't like. Honestly, I don't hate shoving pre. I don't hate folding pre. I don't really like calling. I think I prefer folding than shoving than calling. Honestly. As played, even the flop I'm not loving without a club because there's just so many turns we have to fold on. I don't know what he's doing here, by the way. I don't hate calling the flop, but the problem is, look at the stack to pot ratio. So something that not enough new players consider is the SPR, which is stack to pot ratio. So once we call the flop, we have way less than a pot size bet behind on the turn, meaning that there's effectively only one bet left unless you want to do something weird like he does. In any case, the turn, it goes check, check. I think that's absolutely standard from our point of view. I don't know why he's not betting on such a draw-heavy board. We check, he checks behind. The river, we just need to jam here for value. Jake, just out of interest, why are we checking and then why are we calling a small bet? Like, for what reason? What are you specifically worried about here? Or why do you not want to shove for value? Like, why did you check as opposed to jam? Because it's all well and good me saying you should shove, but I need to understand your thought process here to try and make you improve, to try and make you understand the reason why I think shoving is better than checking here. Clubs. How is he going to have clubs? Again, so whenever you're making decisions on rivers, guys, what you have to do, and this is why poker is such a taxing game mentally, is you have to go back one street until the start of the hand. So on the river, you have to think, okay, so what happened on the turn? Okay, he checked back. What happened on the flop? But more importantly in this hand, what happened pre-flop? The thing is as well, if you check and he shoves, are you folding or are you calling? This is the thing where, like, people will check because they're afraid of the flush, but then they'll call versus a shove anyway. So it's like, you might as well shove, and if he's got a flush, it goes in anyway. If he has a flush and you shove the river, he's gonna call. If he has a flush and you check the river and he shoves, you're going to call. So what you're really doing and missing out on value. The reason why we should be checking the river with a very strong hand is one reason and one reason only, and that is to induce. That is to allow your opponent to bluff. On this board, in a 4-bet pot, it is very difficult for him to 4-bet and then not have anything on this board. Like, yeah, he might have a hand like kings, but kings is probably always checking back. Maybe once in a while it calls a jam. And then even versus this ridiculously small size, he may have aces. It's unlikely he has queens with the line, but it's technically possible. And maybe he has ace king of clubs. But again, so unlikely, I think he's just going to shove. With the amount in the pot here, we just shove and just get the rest of it in. And just put him in a spot with ace king. Put him in a spot with kings. Okay, 10-8 suited here. I wouldn't hate ISOing. I wouldn't even hate overlimping, and I wouldn't hate folding. So this would be an open normally. So this would be an open on the button. It's a pretty good hand. It's a playable hand. We're in position. We got suited gappers. Can flop pretty well. We have to be probably a little bit tighter versus limps, in that we're going to be raising bigger as well. So we can't just, you know, raise the bottom of our range. But I think anything is fine. If you folded, it'd be a little bit tight, but I could understand. If you overlimped, I could understand, but I think I'd prefer a raise. I think just going 4x here and making it $1 is the best thing to do. I like it. Big fan of it. Fold into 4-3 suited, obviously. Yeah, I think we have one option against this size and one option only. Raising is just pointless, I think. I think this is just too weak. It's not a really good bluff in that we don't block any strong hands. It's a hand that's like playable in position. Let's just take a flop. I think folding, sorry, will be way too tight because we're getting such a good price and we're in position. So versus this ridiculously small size, I think we have to call. And we flop 2-pair and we just want to fast play this and get as much money in as we can. Let's go. So the reason we always want to raise here, and intuitively it comes to it. So he's bet pot here, which is great for us. Intuitively, everyone wants to raise these hands, and when the pot's already bigger, it makes sense. The reason being, our hand is very, very vulnerable, right? And it's not just that, it's just so many cards on the turn are going to kill our action, right? So we have, let's think about it like this. We have the 5th nuts. We have the 5th nuts as it stands. If the turn comes the jack of spades, we would then have something like the 35th nuts or something, just off the top of my head. Like, there's so many bad cards, like a king, a queen, a jack, a 9, a spade, an ace. All of these cards aren't great. Obviously, it's going to depend on what he's got, but it's going to be harder to get value from, say, ace king and stuff like that. So we really, really definitely want to fast play this, which I think you're going to do. We don't have to go that big. I think we could just raise to something like $10 here in position. Because the stack to pot is going to be quite small. Don't like it. Even now, it's kind of a gross one. So we had the 5th nuts on the flop, right? We now have the 5th, 6th, 7th, 10th. So our overall hand strength has dropped a lot. It's devalued because there's just more cards out there, and it's going to happen again on the river. If we had pocket 10s, right, or ace 10 or pocket aces for whatever reason, I think calling makes more sense because our hand is less vulnerable and there's less cards that really suck on the turn. So I think this should definitely be a raise on the flop, especially against a fun player. We just want to try and get the money in against a hand like ace king, ace queen. And on the turn, if he bets, we're just going to have to jam. But now we're not loving it. Like, if we... Yeah, I mean, he overbet jams. What on earth? The problem is that we don't get to tag him as an absolute fucking button clicker. So it's kind of difficult for me to say, because normally I would say in this spot, okay, I like calling if you know that he's going to go off on absolute no equity punts with a hand like, let's say, 6-7 of hearts. If you think he's just going to have 6-7 of hearts for a gutter and just absolutely go fucking batshit crazy, then calling becomes way higher EV than raising, because we want to keep his absolute garbage in. Against your general unknown, though, because our hand's kind of vulnerable, I think that we should just be raising here. Versus a 3-bet, we can technically call. Again, this is a relatively small 3-bet. We've raised... No, it's 9x. It's 9x, so it's not that small. Honestly, I'm just folding here. I don't think calling's too bad here with 5s, but the problem is that our hand doesn't have a lot of playability. If we don't hit a set of 5s, it's very difficult to play out of position, so we end up calling a lot and check folding a lot of boards. So okay, so I'm probably just folding the 5s. I think that we should just continue when we're higher up in our range. Consider this as well. What do your ranges, Jake, say that the worst hand you should open under the gun is? Just FYI as well, so if we look at an under the gun opening range from Bluff the Spot, this is assuming that we're raising 2.2x, right? If we're choosing a bigger size in, we therefore have to be tighter, right? If you imagine we were only min raising or open shoving, we could min raise all of these hands, but we can't open shove all of these hands. We'd have to be a lot tighter if we're open shoving. So the bigger your raise size, the tighter you have to be. For that reason, 5s I think is an okay open. I definitely wouldn't be opening 2s, 3s, and 4s. But when we open and we get 3-bet, the worst pair we're ever going to have is pocket 5s. So for that reason, I think we can just let it go. Even though solvers like to call this, and ranges will say we can call, because MDF, it wants to, we have to defend enough of the time to 3-bets, otherwise we're going to be overfolding according to minimum defense frequency. But I think that when you're just this low down in your range, like pocket 5s, and the hand doesn't have a lot of playability, we might as well just fold. Especially going back to Mr. Chat Pro was saying that nobody bluffs here. It's likely they're not going to be 3-betting as much as they should, right? They're probably going to be, generally speaking, 3-betting a tighter range, so we have even less equity against their range. And then we get into a lot of spots like this where we check call, check fold. And again, it's kind of annoying as well, because without knowing your kind of player types, for me, like, let's say the turn comes like an 8 or a 7, I would consider check calling definitely on a 7 against a lot of opponents, but against a lot of others, I'd consider folding because I think they just have, you know, with no stats, you don't get to see what their C-bet is and what their turn C-bet is. So you don't know how often they're going to bet the flop and then give up. And so you might have to call 1 street or 2 streets. And then we're just in a spot like everywhere. The flop, I think check calling is probably the only option. There's not really much reason for raising, in my opinion, other than protection. I wouldn't say it's the worst thing in the world. So on the queen turn, he should be doing a lot of checking here. From a theory point of view, this 4-6 seems like a bit of a punt. I think we just have to fold 5s. Okay. At least we folded the 5s here where, you know, again, we are so low down in our range in terms of pairs that we don't need to continue this from a theory point of view, right? So if we have 5s, we have 6s, 7s, 8s, 9s, 10s, possibly jacks if we don't 4-bet, as well as queen X and some other hands, maybe even pocket 4s for a full house. So for that reason, we don't need to call 5s on the turn because we have a lot of better hands. So I like the fold. So what's gone on here? We overcall the 4-6 suited on the... No. This is a limp pot, actually. Okay. Prefer it that it's a limp pot. Flop middle pair, checking. Even versus half pot, I'm probably just folding. I don't hate it because we're obviously against fun players here. I don't hate it. But on the turn, we just need to fold. And I think I might... So why are we calling the turn? I think I might understand your logic. What are we calling the turn for? Like, why are we using this hand to call the turn? Like, we have better hands now. And then the river, we could even consider check raising as a bluff, and he has the 8-6. So I think we should just fold because, again, we're just low down in our range. The only reason why I think calling is okay in terms of this combo of hand is that we unblock all of the draws. So because we have spades, we unblock any diamond draws or club draws. The only problem is when he has a club draw, he could have an 8 with a club draw. You know, when he has a diamond draw, he could have a king. He could have like ace-4 of diamonds or something like that, which beats us. So for that reason, even though our hand is kind of good in a way, like it's like, okay, we unblock a lot of his bluffs, we just don't have a strong enough hand to continue here. No real good cards on the river. The 4 of hearts and the 6 of hearts. And even then, they're not fantastic. Like, there's just not a lot to improve on. You know, if it could be the 4 of diamonds and you could potentially have a flush. It could be the 6 of diamonds, you could potentially have a flush, the 6 of spades, the 6 of clubs, sorry. Just not a strong enough hander to call with. It's a small pot, yeah, but small pots, they fucking add up. This is why people lose at poker, right? The thing is, people seem to think that the big pots in poker are the ones that make you lose money. So, like, I've seen posts on Reddit where people are like, oh, I got set over setted, should I get away from it here? No, you fucking idiot. Put the money in, accept it's a cooler, and then move on. The spots where people are going to be losing without realizing it is the smaller pots. That's where you're going to be losing it. The sick ones don't mean shit in terms of EV. You run kings into aces and you go, I knew he had aces. Should I have folded? No, you fucking shouldn't. Doesn't matter. In the scheme of things, running kings into aces makes no difference to your EV because first of all, you're just as likely to run your aces into somebody's kings, and second of all, it's so infrequent. There's only one hand that beats you. It doesn't happen often. Doesn't fucking matter. Ignore it. Move on. Don't worry about it. Okay, so we talked about the sizings. I would like to go a little bit bigger here versus this 3x. I think just going 10 big blinds is fine. So I think going $2.50 is fine. $2.25 isn't bad. It's just a little on the small side here. So I'd like to go a tiny bit bigger. The ace queen, we go for the ISO. I think the sizing is absolutely fine. We could maybe make this a bit smaller just because of his stack, but just in general versus a limp, we want to go, let's say, 1 big blind bigger. So if there's 1 limp, let's go to 4 big blinds. If there's 2 limps, let's go to 5 big blinds, stuff like that. And in general here, so I don't know if we want to be balanced. If you've gone for a check here, I don't hate it, but I think in general, we probably just want to start putting money in. So why are we checking with the ace king? For what reason are we checking? And why are we snap checking the turn? Slow down as well. I'd check range on this river. And obviously go for the check jam. So why did we check the flop? For what reason did we check the flop? Doing a lot of checking out position. I think it's fine. I don't hate it. Why are we checking? It's not unreasonable. I do this every now and then. I would generally just veer towards betting. But every now and then you'll see me just... I'll say on stream, I'll be like, I'm going to play this like a weirdo. And I'll just have a really strong hand on a board that I can normally bet, and I'll just check. Just to throw it out there. Just so if anyone's watching the stream, they're going to be like, oh, he always bets this. And then they see me do this random shit. They're going to be like, oh my God, now what? If you're playing these stakes on Ignition, I'm not being funny. Just fucking forget about balance. You pretty much don't need to be balanced. Because first of all, it's anonymous. Honestly, just bet when you've got it. Just bet. In these pools, don't even bother be balanced. Just be like, just see the flop and be like, I have top pair, top kicker, bet. Turn maybe we want to check. So when he checks back on this turn, I'm just generally going to be betting because we pretty much always have the best hand. And when we don't, we have the nut flush draw to back up. We can be missing a lot of value from hands like 8s with a diamond, 10s with a diamond, ace queen or something, ace 10. And so I don't think that you do it here as well, but make sure you... In fact, it doesn't even matter that much what they've got because it's anonymous. So even if you see exactly what they've had, it doesn't make that much of a difference because we can't go and note people. Playing in anonymous pools is very, very alien to me. I've done it once before, I can't remember on what site, and I fucking hated it. In any case, 9-10 suit will be open under the gun, the small blind calls. Shouldn't really be having much calls from the small blind. This is a board we want to be careful on in general from a theory point of view. I think with this hand, let's just fucking bet in these pools. I wouldn't even hate checking back though, because it's dicey if we get check raised here. So okay, so why are we betting this turn here? So why are we betting this turn, and why are we saying I'll say value? Exactly, you don't know. I don't hate betting this turn for a couple of reasons. We unblock a lot of the draws. We block his strongest ever hands. So we block 2 pairs, we block straights, we block a set. He can have hands like 6-7 suited. He could have hands like Queen Jack of diamonds. And I don't think enough players are going to check raise bluff on the turn, even though they should be doing. So it's kind of a mergy bet where sometimes you get a better hand to fold, although unlikely. Sometimes you get a worse hand to call. It's kind of like a mergy bet where like, the reason why I don't mind betting here is because we have really bad clarity on the river. So there's so many bad rivers that just make our relatively strong hand, right? We have second pair and an open ender that just make our relatively strong hand shit. Like any diamond, any heart, a 10's not great, a 5, but like even a king queen, like king queen. So I don't hate betting here. It's kind of a mergy one. Just in general, I would say though, I always say we should be betting for 2 primary reasons when we're betting flop and turn. 1 for value, 2 as a bluff. Like you've got like semi bluff, which is kind of in between. You know, you've got protection, which falls in between in the way that, you know, you're denying equity, which is a thing. But the main reasons we want to bet is value and bluff. Like they're the 2 primary reasons we should be betting here. When it falls into like the middle bit, generally speaking, like if we can't really bet for value, we should just be checking, and then we can call on some rivers, allowing them to bluff. I don't hate betting this turn for the reasons explained, that it's kind of mergy. Probably just going a bit bigger here though. I don't really, half pot doesn't really make that much sense. And I think checking the river, I think we have the best hands so often, but it's hard to get called by worse. So he can technically have some ace X, like a hand like ace 10, ace jack. He could have like something like king 9, king 9 of clubs or something. So I think checking back here. Oh my God. But then you see this and it's like, holy fucking shit. It's just so bad. The thing is as well, so even if he had like 6-4 diamonds, my guess is he probably wouldn't even check raise the turn. Now, one of the biggest things about poker, what people just don't really, people understand what it is, but they don't take it into account enough, is fold equity. Fold equity is like the most important thing in poker. Having the opportunity, having the potential to make somebody fold a better hand than yours is what makes money in poker. If you didn't have fold equity in poker, all it would be is who's got the best hand. There'd be no fucking skill, no variance element, it'd just be whoever's got the best hand. Fold equity is what makes poker work. It's what makes you be able to win. So if you're just check calling a lot and you're really passive, you're limp calling and you're check calling your draws and you're betting with your good hands, first of all, you're going to be very exploitable. People are going to recognize what you're doing. And second of all, you just need to hit. You need to get there. Like if he has 6-4 diamonds and he check raises a turn and jams the river, doesn't need to get there. Same with 7-8 suited here. So let's have a look at what Bluff the Spot recommends for 7-8 suited. So Bluff the Spot actually does have a call-in strategy on the button versus the under the gun and middle position here. So it's flatting some stuff, it's 3-betting some stuff. It just depends here on fucking what. So it likes to mix between 3-betting and flatting. I think against in anonymous pools, like honestly, I'm fine just calling because I really just want to play pots in position. Yeah, I think it's fine. I think that like if I'm playing this in a live game, I like to call a lot and just like play flops in position, and we can just like maneuver post flop. And the fact is like, if we're a lot deeper, it's okay to 3-bet. We could even peel a 4-bet, but like 100 big blinds deep, we kind of really don't want to get 4-bet here, like against an unknown who's 3x. Because I'm not going to peel versus a 4-bet because it's probably going to be too big to peel. So I really don't want to get blown off my equity. I'd rather just take a flop. So I think calling's possibly higher EV. But 3-betting's definitely not bad. As long as we're V-pipping, I think it's fine. I think folding would be a little bit tight. Chris folded 6-7 suited in a spot like this once, and I nearly fucking kicked his head in. This is kind of a weird one. Stop checking so quickly. Stop auto-checking. Think about it. The thing is, it's so obvious as well, like... I mean, you did check the ace-king earlier out of position, but that's because you're out of position. If you've got ace-king here, you're never checking. If you've got 10s, you're just never checking. And you're not... And even if you are, you're not checking that quickly. So there's some merit in betting here. We have advantage. We block 8s, which is something. It's a hand that we want to protect because it's only one pair. But on the other hand, I think I'm fine just checking. I think in these pools, we just generally want to be quite a bit more face up. I don't like no, don't do this fucking, don't do this shit. Why have we bet 2 big blinds? So you were unsure what to do, so you thought you'd fire out 2 big blinds. What does 2 big blinds achieve? The reason why you're doing it, and what everybody likes to fucking do here, is they like to bet something to set their own price. So you're trying to bet 2 big blinds so that he calls or folds and then checks the river to you on a river so we can check back. That's exactly what's going to happen. So once he calls and he checks, you're going to check back 100% of rivers. No, not 100%. You're going to bet on an offsuit 9 and offsuit 8. And then you just snap checking here. I hope he donks. I really hope he donks just to put you in a spot. Ha! Get wrecked. It's not even in a spot. We just fold here, but... What on earth are you doing? What the fucking hell have you just done that for? Did you misread your hand? Did you think you had pocket 8s? Did I misread what just happened, or did you just call a fucking $3 bet? Mate, there's stationing, and then there's just fucking setting money on fire. Jake, specifically, what do you beat? Specifically, what hand are you thinking he's going to show up with? What air? Specifically, what hand? What air can he have? What air can he have? Specifically, what hand? Like, name a hand. Jack 9 suited shouldn't... I mean, yeah, I can call the turn, I guess. Jack 9 suited. There's bad calls, and then there's this. The fact is, as well, the people that are going to bluff, right? The people that are going to bluff on like this river, why don't they just try and bluff the turn? They're probably just going to bet the turn. If you made a call with a king or a 10, not a 10, but a king, I'd let you off. A 10, I'd be like, oh, this is a bad call. But an 8, like specifically, you need to pick a hand. He's called a 3-bet out of position. Look at this board. How can he even have a hand that doesn't beat? Jack 9 suited is literally it. And he might even just bet the turn. What you need to look at when you're calling on a river, how high up or low down in your range you are. We have so many better hands to call here. We could have like ace queen or ace jack or like, you know, pocket jacks, pocket queens where we like block straights. We could maybe have ace 10. We could maybe, you know, have ace king or something that we check back with or something. We don't need to call a pair of 8s. So I know exactly what you're doing on the turn here, and it's just not good. Whoever said in the chat that it prints versus the pool, I don't care. It's just not something you want to do. Because you're not even denying equity, that's the thing. Like, you're not even denying equity, because if he has any equity, for example, an open-ender, like a queen jack suited, he has to call. So we're not even denying equity. Yeah, we're getting value from it, but it's far too thin to bet for value. So if we're going to do this, maybe start bluffing and start betting bigger. Doing it this size doesn't make any sense. The reason people do it, right? It's not exploit good. It's just not exploit good. People say, oh yeah, we do it to set our own price, so he checks the river. First of all, he donked the river. He doesn't have to check to the aggressor. So your bet for this reason is pointless. Second of all, you have just reopened the action. If he checks and you check back, we see a river. Or 100% of the time. If we bet, he can still raise versus a small sizing. This is not good. None of this is good. In any case, don't do this shit on the turn. The river call is by far the worst thing about it, though. The river call is absolutely woeful. To be honest, I think that you've got a lot of leaks, but it wouldn't surprise me if you... I would imagine you're making money in this pool. Favourable flop. No, don't You can check, but don't do the snap check. Okay, we didn't. So we go for a third here. I think it's absolutely okay. Three-way, we have to bet. Yeah, fuck it. Put more money in. We've got top set, bro. We've got top set, bro. Yeah, fuck it. Yeah, keep going up. Honestly, I'm fine with this. We're very deep against this guy, and we have the nuts. Like, just put loads and loads of money in. It's not a great river. It's kind of interesting what we should bet on the river because we block the top pair, so I don't mind going relatively small. So we go for about half pot. We go for a third on the flop, which I think is okay. We want to keep hands in. We block the top pairs. So let's say I'm against two fun players, which let's face it, we probably are in these pools, and I have pocket threes. I'm going to bet huge, right? I'm going to bet 3/4 pot. Again, from a theory point of view, we probably want to pick smaller sizes, but against fun players, we want to use exploits. The reason pocket threes makes more sense as a bigger bet than pocket tens is that we unblock the top pair. So when we have pocket tens, there is only 1 10 left in the deck, meaning it's less likely somebody has a top pair like queen 10. When we have pocket threes, it's literally 3 times as likely that they could have a 10 in their hand. Or maybe not 3 times as likely, but there is three times the amount of tens left in the deck, meaning that it's a hell of a lot more likely they're going to have a top pair. I like the small bet here. I actually really like the way he played this hand. I think he played it perfect. So even though we block the top pairs, the board's getting a lot wetter now, and we're super deep. So again, talking about the SPR, which is stack to pot ratio. So against the bigger stack, because we're playing 200 big blinds deep, the stack to pot ratio is more than 10, meaning that our stack in relation to the pot is 10 times the size of the pot. Obviously, if we were just playing versus him, it'd be like 7 times or whatever. For that reason, I think we just want to bet big. So I think it's going to go fold a lot. But we have the nuts. Let's just put loads of money in. I like the fact that you went half and then thought, no, I'll bet bigger. And then you thought, no, I'll bet bigger. And the river isn't the best river in the deck. He could have queen jack. As in, it's no longer the nuts. Whereas when it's a 10, a 3, a 2, a 9, it's the effective nuts given the line. And again, I'm probably still just going bigger. Or I'm going a lot smaller. I don't really like half pot. So again, when it comes down to betting on rivers, we've got to consider what we're trying to target, right? So if we're trying to target a pair of 9s, we should maybe bet smaller. If we're trying to target, like, I don't know, a set or some shit, then let's just fucking go and absolutely blast. If we think he's not capable of folding a 10 or a 9, then let's just bet pretty much full pot. I think that fun players are inelastic to sizing. So what that means is, let's say we bet half pot, they're probably going to call a similar range for half pot and, like, close to pot. So for that reason, why don't we just get more value, right? Why don't we just get more value and bet bigger when we have good hands? Like, we generally just want to bet bigger. But I'm okay with, I think maybe going a bit smaller, trying to get a crying call from a 9 or something. I don't know. But yeah, I think this was okay. The A7 suited, we open, the small blind calls. So if you check, I don't hate it, but I think there's just enough merit in betting. Because I don't think enough people are going to check raise bluff a lot, I think betting's absolutely fine because we just get called by the draws. Don't mind it, though. Don't mind it. Bet this turn. I generally would size up on the turn once we've checked the flop. Because, again, if we go back to talking about the SPR, the stack to pot ratio is so big on the turn here. Like, it's like 15. So we want to put more money in because the idea is, you know, of getting the stack to pot ratio smaller so we can get more money in when we have good hands. So I think I'm just going bigger here. I don't hate the small size. It's going to make him call with a wide range of hands. We want to bet the river for value. He's not going to have that many hands that call, but he... So, why are we checking here, Jake? Why are we checking the river? For what reason are we checking the river? I don't think much worse will call. Okay, so that is something we want to consider when we are betting rivers. So we want to consider, but we also have to consider how likely it is we have the best hand. We have the best hand so often here, man. Because, like, you'd expect a better ace, a hand like ace 10, ace jack. So ace king should probably 3-bet, right? Ace queen should probably 3-bet. Ace jack suited could 3-bet. Ace 10 could 3-bet in these positions. Maybe they wouldn't. But then he's checked the flop. We've checked back. He's checked the turn and then called versus a small bet. Because of that, he should have so many worse hands. I understand it's not like amazing. It's not like a fist pump value bet. But I just think that we have the best hands so often. I mean, he called the turn with fucking king high, no draw. Which, for what it's worth, I don't think is absolutely terrible. You have the best, you have the nothing. But he may well call with king high. He may well call with 6-5 suited. He may well call with 8-9. It's very unlikely he's going to have a hand like pocket 6s or pocket 9s because they're likely to check raise. I'm not going to say they will always check raise, but I'd see no reason to not check raise because, as we talked about the stack to pot ratio, you know, it's so big that we want to get more money in. So I would see this board and just be like, okay, I agree with you for what it's worth. I don't think many worse hands will call. Maybe he has a hand like ace 10, because we chop against ace 8 and worse aces. But I think it's so unlikely that he has a better hand that I think we should just bet. 10 jack suit would be open. Threes we overcall in the big blind versus a raise and a call. Super standard. These hands are just real nice to defend multi-way. Like, they're just so easy to play. Basically no set, no bet. So this one's interesting with the 10 jack. It's a board that's really good for us. If we were heads up, I would definitely consider betting. I could even consider betting this now for a small size. We block king jack and king 10, and king jack and king 10 suited. We block 10s and jacks, which hands I can continue with. And we have good cards that we can barrel. We can barrel on like a 9, a queen, an ace, a spade. And it's a board that, you know, from a theory point of view, which I'm not going too much against these goons, but from a theory point of view, we have advantage on this board. We have aces, kings, ace, king, queens even. Those players don't have these hands because they should be 3-betting these hands. I think we want to bet this turn for sure. Even 10 jack's nice because we block queen jack and queen 10 suited. This is a really nice board to bet. And I'm probably just barreling every single river. I think we could probably go bigger as well, given that, you know, again, we're talking about the SPR. When we have good hands, we're going to, if we've checked a really good hand here, we're going to want to put as much money in as we can on the turn. So for that reason, we should balance it with our bluffs. Have to fold this ace-5 suited against his stack size. Can't do anything out of position. You've obviously not paid attention. Because... why would you make it $7? You've literally... This whole, like, minute or so... you're just not paying attention and you've just lost EV in hands. Again, guys, I cannot express this. People think that they can just play poker, they can get me to review a session, they'll be like, okay, he'll tell me what to do and then I'll just do it. You need to stay focused throughout every single fucking game that you play when you play poker. You need to not be timing out with ace-8. You need to not be 4-betting ace-5 when you're against this kind of stack. I don't even hate shoving, by the way. It's not actually the worst thing ever if you think you have fold equity against him, because sometimes he folds and then we go, you know, we have 30% against the range that he continues with. The problem is you obviously haven't paid attention to it because you made it $7.15 when he has a $9 stack. Because you weren't focusing. You were doing something else and you weren't focused. Doesn't matter how good you are at poker. If you're not focused, you're not going to be winning. Now we call for the extra $2, and I wouldn't have bothered did this anyway. I'm glad you got wrecked by aces. Don't be a jack. I'm glad you got wrecked by aces. That'll serve you right. So jamming wouldn't... No, jamming would be pretty shit. I don't know why he's even picking that fucking massive sizing. This is a problem. You can't note him saying he's some random sick nit, considering there's only 3 combos of aces, and he's made it so big given his stack size. But this was just an absolute punt. No need. I'm so glad you ran into aces. I'm not even joking. I'm glad you ran into aces. Because hopefully that'll stick in your mind. You'll be like, oh, do you remember that time when... So people think that, you know, a lot of the time when you run into aces or whatever, or you get unlucky in a spot, you might run into a big hand and you think, oh, that was really unlucky, that. And it's like, no, it wasn't. It wasn't unlucky. You played it badly. This shouldn't have happened. This should not have been all in. It's not unlucky. You made a mistake. Hopefully it sticks in your mind a bit and then you won't do it again in the future. So we 3-bet the king queen. We go for a small size in. Big fan of this. I'm probably just betting turn. He has very few 4x, but I wouldn't hate a check. I think in general though, because we're going to be betting quite a lot on this board because it's so good for us, that I'm just trying to, I'm finding any excuse to bet for value. So because I'm going to just bluff a load of random shit. If I have 6, 7, 7, 8, ace deuce, ace 3, I'm always bluffing. So I don't want my value to just be aces, kings, and ace king. So I'm going to start betting any king, to be honest. So I think we should bet this turn. We can still get called by worse. I think we should bet this turn. He's going to have pocket 9s now. Easy call. I think we lose. King 5 off. Fucking hell, man. Right, this was a 3-bet pot, wasn't it? Oh, no, he limp called. Sorry, I thought this was a 3-bet pot. In which case, I'm actually more okay with checking because he has a lot more random shit here. I thought this was a 3-bet pot. So I thought that, you know, he doesn't really have many 4x. And he doesn't have any, you know... Doesn't have that many nonsense hands. I'm actually okay with the check back, and then we have to call the turn. The thing is, in this spot where somebody check calls, the turn goes check check, and then they pot the river. Pot bets on rivers tend to be value heavy from my experience at lower stakes from fun players. You do get a lot that will just blast pot, but they tend to bet like 3/4. So just FYI, I'm never folding here. We beat all bluffs. We can technically beat value. I'm never ever folding king queen, but it did feel like he had it. But I think you played that. Do you know what? I'm gonna say that you played that hand probably perfect. I say you probably played that hand like bang on. I think that's absolutely fine. Well played, Jake. Queens, let's put more money in. So we're a little bit deeper here, so I actually like the biggest size in. What on earth is happening here? The dream. We are in a dream. That's what's happening here. Okay. So a limp, a 4x, we make it this kind of size. I think I really like this size. So this is 10, 11, 12, 13 and a bit bigs, and we are deeper. I like it. Actually a big fan of it. I think this is just maybe not optimal, but this is exactly what I would do. And then we see this flop, and I'm so fucking happy. Just bet pot. Oh my god, it just gets better and better. I'm probably just calling now. So if it had checked to us, even though we block all of the hands that we want to continue Queen X, we would just have to put money in, because there's so many turns that change the action. Like, you know, we have the nuts, whereas a 4, a 5, an ace, a 6, we no longer have the nuts. And obviously it could just, our equity would be reduced, especially if it comes like the 4 of hearts, when now a flush draw is apparent and stuff. I think now that somebody is led, I'm okay just calling here, because this guy's already out the pot, and yeah, I think I'm okay calling, only because we don't close the action. If we close the action, if he'd have, like, I don't know, just fucking if he'd have led and he'd have folded and he'd have folded, I'd be raising. I don't think there's that much merit to raising, because we blocked the top pair so heavily. He might not even call a raise with like 5s or 8s or whatever fucking garbage he's got, so I'm probably just calling it. I think it's fine. I wouldn't hate raising just to try and get it in against this guy, but this is just fucking... I am just so happy right now. Oh my god, what is going on here? Oh, it's only a min lead. And think about it. Don't just click your fucking button. No, what? Simmer down. We've got the nuts. we've got a fucking lock on the hand. If they've got a flush draw, they're not folding anyway. Get value from worse. You know what the fucking joke thing is? You know the funniest thing about this is that the river comes one of the worst rivers in the deck when you're oversetted somebody. That like, there is a scenario where all the money doesn't go in. All right, okay. This is fucking mint. This I'm gonna start playing on ignition, man. I like the fact that you're raising the turn. Shoving is terrible. Right, here's something that I would recommend, by the way. When somebody min bets, treat it as a check that costs money. I know that sounds so weird, but this isn't a thing. This is effectively a check, right? So just pretend he's checked. So pretend he's checked and he's checked as well. This is fucking nothing. He's bet like 1,000th pot. Pretend it's a check versus 2 checks. Are we going to bet or are we going to check? We're going to bet, which means we should raise. Imagine that they're both checks. We would never, why would we jam $29 effective into $21 with top set? The thing is, we can make this so small and still jam the river for like less than pot, even against this guy. So I'm making this like $8, and then the river will be like, even if like, so if we look at the top stack, if we make this like $8, then the pot will be 38 and you'll have like 31 behind. We could just make this $8. Jamming for fucking 40 effective is just, you got too excited. You literally got too excited. That's exactly what happened. You got so horny that you were just like, I'm all in. You just blasted at the wrong time. Like, it's premature. And you don't even think about it. You're like, pot, no, all in. Like, I was actually thinking he was decently likely to have aces. Right. Why? Why would he have who would have aces here? Who would have aces? A limp, a fucking raise, a 3-bet, a cold call of the 3-bet, an overcall of the 3-bet, and an overcall of the 3-bet. You think somebody's gonna limp flat aces with fucking 2 people in the thing? Nobody ever has aces here, ever. I'm surprised he's even got jacks. Literally, we can make this like $9. Our hand is so fucking strong. If we want to make this bigger, we could do it with jacks where we unblock the top pair, so at least ace queen, king queen can call. Going all in here is just, honestly, it's a punt. It's literally a punt. Anyway, that was a fucking fun hand. That was real fun. I enjoyed that. Bet everything all the time. Honestly, that's basically okay. Yeah, squeeze here I would actually like with the king queen. The thing is, I think that like it's generally a bit too loose in these positions. The reason why I'm not really sure of it is the fact that I think that people are just gonna call too much. So we could even squeeze, and honestly, if we squeeze and this guy calls, I think we go 4-way every single time. So probably calling is just better. Going for a 3-bet with the 7-8 suited versus under the gun. Honestly, I think in these pools, if you're playing these anonymous pools, I'd probably just fold. I'd probably just let it go. We don't really have to be that balanced, and I think we just want to 3-bet a really tight range. I don't think we want to intentionally go out of position with 7-8 suited, because you just know he's not folding. I don't think anyone's ever folded to a 3-bet in the fucking life on this game. So I think, yeah, I literally think that 3-betting just isn't making money with these hands. King Queen, we have a dirty spot here. I honestly think we have to fold because there's 2 other players. Even though we've got a gut shot and 2 overs, if we had a club, it would make it a much better call. But I think that we just have to check fold. We're not closing the action. There's 2 players left to out that can raise. Obviously, there's only 3 nutted outs. The 10 of clubs means that somebody could have a flush, and we're 4-way, and we block no flushes. So even though it's tempting, I think we just have to fold. And we have to fold on every turn that isn't a 10 or an offsuit king or a queen. By betting range, I mean betting literally every single hand we have. So we are going to 3-bet here with... Let's see what we're going to 3-bet with. Do we have 3-bet range? So in this column here, the purple is what we're going to be 3-betting. But we're 3-betting aces, ace, king, queens, you know. Really good hands, jacks sometimes, and then some suited connectors some of the time just because we want to be balanced. If we never 3-bet like 6-7 suited or 9-10 suited or 5-6 suited... Then when the board comes like 5, 6, 7, we can only have 1 pair ever. And so we're completely capped. So that's why we mix in some of these. But we're primarily using these as a base. So we want to be 3-betting aces, kings, queens. So we have to have some bluffs. So because this board is amazing for us, if we look at the ranges that we have such a strong range here. We have all of these. He doesn't. So if we were to look at 4-bet ranges, he should be 4-betting aces, he should be 4-betting kings, and 4-betting ace-king off sometimes, or ace-king suited sometimes, I don't know. But he should be 4-betting these hands, right? So he doesn't have aces, he doesn't have kings. Probably has jacks, he probably has some ace-king, but not as much as we do, meaning that this board is so good for us that we can bet our entire range. So this is what we're 3-betting in the purple. So when I say we can bet range for a third, I mean that we can bet literally every single hand that we 3-bet with here. So let's say we 3-bet 9-10 suited instead. We can bet that hand for a small size because we have so many strong hands that we can just bet all of our range, basically. So did we 3-bet this 9-10 suited? I'm a fan of it. No, just bet this board. So again, it's like... You're just sort of playing your own hand in a vacuum, not considering your range and their range. So when I talk about ranges again, guys, I'm talking about all of the hands that you would have in that spot and all of the hands they would have. So like we have a strong range here because we're going to have aces, kings, ace, king. They should be 4-betting those hands always. Maybe not this deep. In fact, definitely this deep. So this is a good board for us. Also, our hand is okay. It's middle pair with a 10 kicker, you know, but there's so many bad cards. So like we want to bet this for protection as well. So I see no reason not to bet here. There's just like, you know, an ace, a queen, a jack, a club. All of those are really bad. A 7's not great. A 6 isn't great. Okay, yeah. Easy call. Easy call on river. Unless he, like, bets pot or more. If he bets, I guarantee you. I'm not going to guarantee. I would bet a reasonable amount of money here that he's bluffing. Something like 7s or 6s or just some random nonsense. I cannot imagine he ever has a... Oh my god, he's not folding. You are folding your entire range on the river here. Your entire range. You probably bet jacks on the flop and queens and 10s. This is just... And look at the price you're getting, man. He's bet a third pot. Again, like, this kind of thing that people don't seem to realize is, like, you need to just do the maths. We're getting... He's bet 1/3 pot, meaning we're getting 4-1. Right? So we're calling 375 into 1325. That means we're getting 4-1. If we get 4-1... Then, if we call on our 5th go, if we call 4 times on our 5th go, if we are right in that 5th go, in that 5th call, we then break even on the hand on the times we were wrong. So if you get 4-1 on something, you need to be right 1 in 5 times to break even. And it's something that just not enough people recognize. They're just like, I think he's got this. I think he's got a good hand. I think he's bluffing. Like, you can't just like do this. You need to be like, okay, well, fair enough. If we never beat it, like let's say we have fucking 4 or 5 suited, we're playing the board, right? We're probably not right 1 in 5 times because we're gonna have to chop. Let's say we have 10 high. Let's say we have like 10-7 suited. We're probably not right 1 in 5 times. We can fold it. We can fold 10 high, no problem. What's he got here that bets like this? Why would a king bet this small? If he has like 5s, 6s, 7s, like 4s, do you think he's just going to give up? You think he's just going to check with his 4 high? You know, with just playing the board? This is far too nitty, man. We're getting such a good price. And it's so weird as well because I get frustrated by seeing it, but then people don't recognize this. And I think it's something that not enough people consider. Look at the price you're getting. If he bets 1 big blind on this river, so 25 cents into $9.50, we have to call ridiculously wide, right? We have to call so wide because if we're just right 1 in 20 times, we're going to make a shitload of money. If he goes all in for like nearly $80 into a $9 pot, we can fold literally everything because we have to be right so often to be making money there. And he's probably not going to bluff that. So when he picks this ridiculously small size in, first of all, I already said, like, it's just so, to me, this line from him is so obviously not a fucking good hand. Maybe he's got like Queen 9 suited or something. This just needs to be a call on the river. Even the combo, we unblock like clubs. He could have missed clubs. Easy call. Is there anything left to rant about, or am I done for ranting for the day? What the fucking hell, man? I thought just when I thought he was solid with pre-flop ranges, just out of fucking nowhere. Ace 10, we decide to 3-bet big blind versus under the gun. Why? Thought you were solid with your pre-flop ranges. This is just not even nearly featuring. Yeah, it's using some random shit like this, but it's pretty much always suited variations. It's barely even a call versus under the gun. And this sizing is just... What is this? What is this? How has it fucking worked? He's not even in the chat for me to just, like, actually ask what happened here. I think his brain just actually took a shit out of nowhere. This is just a fucking... This is just 100% a button click. Okay, we 3-bet here. I think this is absolutely standard deeper as well. I think in position, this hand's going to play pretty well deep, so I actually like the 3-bet. Again, bit on... No, I like the sizing. Fuck it. I like the sizing deep. Why not? Especially in these pools. We flop a straight. we flop a straight on the dirtiest of boards to flop a straight on. So on monotone boards, because theory point of view, again, we generally want to be picking smaller sizes because we want to be able to bet a reasonable amount of hands. So if we pick a large size here, we can't bet aces for a large size. Aces I'm probably checking back. So I like the small size here. This will be so fun if we get raised. Okay, he calls. I'm just going to bet turn and bet river. And if we get raised at any point, no. There's just so much we can get value from. There's just so... Like, a diamond is absolutely terrible. Like, I get it, pot controlling, but again, you're probably not seeing enough check raise bluffs on turn when they check call the flop. So let's say he has a hand like ace 10 with the ace of diamonds. Shouldn't have it because he's called a 3-bet. But let's say he does, he's probably always going to check raise that flop. And to be honest, you should always check raise that flop with ace 10 with the ace of diamonds, given you block the nut flush, you block the nut straight, and you also have a shitload of equity in the hand. So you're very infrequently gonna get check raise, so just put more money in. Queen on the river, he does have some full houses, but not really that many. He can also have some queen X now that we've checked back the turn, like something like ace queen or queen jack suited. Versus a check. Oh my god. Okay. I thought he was gonna check back. And yeah, I'm okay with the river. I'm probably just going bigger, but I really don't have half pot. Half pot doesn't really feature for me in a lot of river bets. I normally bet small to target a wide range or big to target a thinner range and be a bit more polar. I'll tell you what's pissed me off though, actually, that I completely forgot about. That's it, by the way, for the thingy. What really pissed me off is that we folded this 9-10. The fucking state of this, actually. Oh my god, the absolute state of this. Getting 4-1 here, we folded, right? Getting 4-1 with 9-10, we folded. Getting less than 3-1 with 7-8 on this fucking board, we called. You can't make that up. You actually can't make that up. There is just no excuse for that. That is absolutely fucking wild. That is absolutely wild. Stay focused. You're not a terrible player in the way that you understand things. Your pre-flop is relatively solid bar some random ace 10 punt. But then you just button click because you're just not focusing. You're not thinking in that hand. You're not thinking, what do I beat with 7-8? You're not thinking, what do I beat with 9-10? How on earth are we folding 9-10 on that board, but we're calling 7-8 on that board? There is no logic to it because you're obviously not focused. The ace-10, there was just no reason for it. One table from now on is what I'm going to say. One table for sure. Focus on your decisions. Think about what you're betting for, what you're calling for. Don't just think about your hand. Think about your hand in relation to your opponent's hand. Your hand in poker is irrelevant. For example, let's say here, we have a full house. If our opponent doesn't have any cards, our full house is irrelevant. It's our hand in relation to his hand. That's what's important. We want to get value or bluff or whatever. That's literally what poker's all about. Literally. The entire of poker is nothing to do with your hand on its own. It's your hand in relation to your opponent's hand. Hang on, let me get some fucking nuggets.